Tonight, an asylum overhaul as the UK government announces sweeping changes to its policy. Scottish campaigners say those seeking safety here will no longer feel welcome.
That moment, that first impression of people seeking protection here is not one of welcoming, both at policy level and at communities level as well.
Also making the headlines, the road to recovery. STV News goes inside Scotland's first government-funded residential rehab centre.
In 24 hours' time, Scotland can book their place at next year's World Cup. Steve Clarke says he and his players are ready to deliver.
I think the players have shown now that they know how to qualify for tournaments, so let's qualify for another one.
And we're on a red carpet with the stars as Ewan McGregor is honoured for his glittering career on the big screen. I'm Kellyanne Woodland. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Scottish campaigners working with refugees say people seeking safety will no longer feel welcome after the UK government announced a significant hardening of the asylum system. The Home Secretary says there's been a profound impact on the country from the number of people arriving and says refugee status should now be regarded as temporary rather than permanent. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
Small boats have become the totemic image of the debate over asylum seekers. Hundreds of miles from us, the often toxic language used around the scenes in the English Channel has seemed remote. But Home Office plans to house 300 male asylum seekers at Cameron Barracks in Inverness have become a focal point for tensions in Scotland. At the weekend, demonstrators in the city centre voiced their concerns about the consequences.
Everywhere they go, rapes are getting committed and assaulted women, so it's not a good idea, is it?
I've got a fear for my teenage daughter walking about in that. Is she going to be safe?
Others, though, wanted to emphasise a more welcoming message.
I don't think 300 people are going to be the cause of all of the problems in Inverness. I think you're blaming the wrong folk.
The refugees aren't the problem. I think attitudes that are not welcoming and are quite hostile to people is part of the problem.
Now a more hostile attitude is becoming government policy, though it may face difficulty getting it past the Labour backbenches.
Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms, and what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country.
The plans include more regular reviews of refugee status and returning people to their home country when it's deemed safe.
And these people have fled violence. They're here to be part of our society and they want to be safe and make contributions. But sadly, we've got to a point where that moment, that first impression of people seeking protection here is not one of welcoming, both at policy level and at communities level as well.
Immigration is reserved to Westminster and hasn't traditionally been a prominent feature of Holyrood election campaigns. But with growing tensions and reform polling at a level where they will get an audience, expect this issue to remain firmly on the agenda as we get closer to voting next May. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Well, the Home Secretary is making a statement on this in the House of Commons. Colin, what's in it?
Well, she's just literally sat down just in the last few minutes. But Shabana Mahmood has been trailing this as the biggest overhaul of asylum since the Second World War. She says the asylum system is broken, it's causing huge division, and she has a moral mission to fix it. Now, one of the biggest announcements that we've seen in it is that those who arrive illegally, for example, in the small boats across the English Channel seeking asylum, would have to wait 20 years to even be considered for permanent settlement. That's 5 years at the moment, so that's a huge change. For those who arrive legally, for example, on work and study visas, it would be 10 years. But there is significant opposition to this, particularly within the Labour Party even. Alloa and Grangemouth MP Brian Leishman, he's just got the party whipped back after being kicked out for several months. He's already spoken out against it, and as you saw in Gordon's report there, one Labour backbencher described these changes as dystopian and cruel policies. The Conservatives, Kemi Badenoch, the leader, has just said in Parliament that this is baby steps but positive steps. The SNP say it's pandering to reform, but the Home Secretary says she's trying to create a deterrent.
All right, well, look, Colin, thanks for talking us through all of that. Thank you. There's a warning: without more long-term funding to help those suffering from addiction, Scotland will struggle to shake its unwanted title as the drugs death capital of Europe. Despite a decline in the figures, more than 1,000 people lost their lives in relation to drugs misuse last year. STV News has been given access inside Scotland's first government-funded residential rehabilitation centre. Gráinne na Gréchan spoke to a man from Hamilton at the facility.
Hanging about with pals and then they're taking drugs, so then it's just, I started taking drugs and then it spiralled.
Drugs like cocaine caused Graham's life to plunge into an uncontrollable addiction, forcing him to go to rehab at 20 years old.
Eventually you do more and more and it doesn't calm you down, but you see it with a lot of people as well, that you go pubs, clubs, anywhere, there's always somebody that's taking it when you go into the toilet because it's glamorised, it's expensive, and it's the debt that comes with it isn't good, because you're in thousands and thousands of pounds worth of debt before you know it.
He's now spent the past 6 months at this rehab in Aberdeenshire and will be the youngest person to ever complete the programme here.
Before, I wasn't going to go anywhere if I didn't come here. I would just be stuck in the same routine, which wasn't healthy at all, so it was good coming here, because now I've got doors opened for volunteering and stuff.
Ray House is the first government-funded residential rehab in Scotland. With 27 rooms, the service offers programmes like relapse prevention, harm reduction and recovery through nature. But as Scotland continues to have the highest drug death rate in Europe, demand on services like this is only increasing as waiting lists continue to grow.
We would love to see more long-term commitment from the government for block funding for residential rehabs. We'd love to see more services commissioned in rural areas such as Ray House, so we can create greater equity of access for those who need it more, not just for those who can advocate for themselves.
We have put in a substantial sum of money, I think around 38 million, to increase the capacity of residential rehab around the country, so to build extra buildings and to make sure there are more beds. But we've also put in extra money to ensure that there are more publicly funded places.
For Graham, his time here has come to an end, but he's now looking forward to the next chapter, free from a life of addiction. Gráinne na Gréchan, STV News.
A leading children's charity is warning more families are falling deeper into poverty as promises are not followed up with practical action. The Aberdeen Children's Charity is adding its voice to calls for the Chancellor to scrap the two-child benefit cap in the budget next week. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie spoke to the charity as it launched its Christmas appeal.
Imagine waking up every day cold and tired.
Aberlour Children's Charity has been fighting poverty for more than a century. This is its latest Christmas appeal to help families cover the cost of clothes, food and heating.
Children living in poverty are suffering.
But the group says more and more households are being driven into crisis.
From our frontline staff on the ground, the reports are that poverty just is getting deeper and deeper, and there's still so much to do.
Aberlour is marking its 150th year this year. This is an issue that has been going on for a very, very long time. I mean, is it going in the right direction in terms of trying to reduce poverty?
I think we're sort of going slightly in the right direction, but at what feels like a glacial pace. So it's really eye-watering to think 1 in 4 children in Scotland are living in poverty. 240,000 children. It's an absolutely enormous number for such a wealthy country. I know Scotland's in a stronger position than England, but I don't think that's enough of a policy goal to really be better than England.
Justina joined Aberlour last month. She sees her priority as ensuring political promises are turned into concrete action.
So what do you think needs to change from UK and Scottish governments to achieve that?
Well, immediately we'd like to see the Chancellor scrap the 2-child benefit cap that was introduced almost a decade ago. That would really help lift thousands of families out of poverty. But also for the Scottish Government, that could really be a kickstarter to quite a programme of action. Again, most immediately, they could increase the Scottish child payment from £27.15, as it is just now, per child per week, up to £40, and also to extend free school meals to all families who are in receipt of Scottish child payments.
The Scottish Government set a target of having less than 10% of children in relative poverty by 2030. Is that realistic?
I think as time goes on, it's going to be tougher and tougher to meet that target, and I think that's why we need to see these more practical actions actually being taken, rather than just kind of wishing poverty away, which is how policy feels in a lot of ways.
Do you feel like they're listening, both at Holyrood and Westminster?
I think the mistake that we keep making is, we keep saying the same thing. The politicians listen, they maybe announce another policy or another change of direction, but actually very little of that is converted into concrete action, and it's really the concrete and practical things we need to see, more money in families' pockets, that will really make that difference to their lives.
Charities will be watching the Chancellor's budget closely next week to assess whether it delivers that practical difference. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Tributes have been paid to a student from North Lanarkshire who died in a crash in Ireland which claimed 5 lives. Chloe Hibson and 4 others died in the crash near Dundalk on Saturday night. South Lanarkshire College, where she studied before moving to Ireland, says it's deeply saddened by the death of a bright and dedicated student. Inquiries are continuing after a woman was raped in a park in Renfrewshire. Emergency services were called to Brodie Park in Paisley yesterday morning. Police say the victim suffered a horrendous ordeal and inquiries are ongoing. Now, Whitehill swimming pool was shut down in 2023 when concrete, known as rack, was found in the roof. Now, 2 years on, and the community's swimming club has suffered relocations and a dwindling membership. Well, our reporter Tara Fitzpatrick met the campaigners fighting to save the pool and bring swimming back to Denniston.
Making a splash. The members of Whitehill Swimming Club meet every Thursday. But despite running for over 40 years, this club is now in crisis.
You feel like a club without a home. The pool's only a metre deep at the ends. We can't do any diving. It's frustrating. There's actually some kids that are in the pool just now that are thinking about giving the swimming up because they're not happy with the situation that we've got here. But we physically can't do anything else.
The club's original pool in Denniston has been shut since before the COVID pandemic. It briefly reopened, but when rack was found in the roof 2 years ago, the shutters came down again. They've now been relocated 5 miles away to Easterhouse, a pool with less space and fewer hours. As a result, their membership has been cut in half.
It's been really challenging for the club, really challenging for the parents as well, because we want to do our best and accommodate our kids learning a vital life skill. And with the closure of our local pool, that's been made so much more difficult.
And for younger kids doing lessons, older people just trying to get out to some exercising, if you want to meet up with your friends, just do a quick swim, it's just a lot harder because you need to travel a bit further.
I don't know where we're going to go next because the council keep removing us. Because this week we're in this pool and then let's say next month we're in another pool.
Normally you could just walk there, let's go swimming, it's 5 minutes away. But now that you have to go a whole bus, I think less people are probably coming.
This was built in 1978.
Bill has been leading the campaign to save Whitehill.
The main problem with the Whitehill pool was there was £5 million of essential maintenance had not been carried out. If that had been done in a proper, timely manner, we may not have been standing here today with this problem. So that's a frustration. Glasgow's got 12 public pools, including this one which is currently closed. They're all ageing at the same time. So at what point in time does Glasgow have the ability and the finance to start addressing these ageing pools?
This month, Glasgow City Council will consider a list of options. They include building a new pool from scratch, a complete retrofit of the current building, or expanding the next door high school into a new leisure campus. But it will all depend on budget decisions in February.
Whitehill Swimming Club.
The club's fight for its future was recognised with a community award this weekend. But with the pool set to be the only in the city closed for next year's Commonwealth Games, the campaign continues. Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News, Glasgow.
Now, a Glasgow icon has been given a bit of a makeover. The traffic cone that sits on top of the Duke of Wellington statue has been replaced by a pigeon reading a newspaper. Commuters woke up this morning to the brand new look as the bird catches up in the day's news headlines. In a nod to tradition, however, there's still a cone in the top spots. All right, time now for sport, and there's one huge story. It's Scotland's match against Denmark tomorrow, and Rahman's so keen he's already at the National Stadium.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
A very good evening from Hampden. In just over 24 hours' time, the Scotland players will walk out on the pitch behind me for what will be the biggest game of their careers. They know what's at stake. Defeat Denmark, and that wait, that 27-year wait of qualifying for a World Cup will be over. However, should the Scots draw or lose, then the playoffs await. A qualification campaign which started with a draw against the Danes in Copenhagen on September the 6th ends against the same opposition tomorrow night. At his pre-match media conference, Steve Clarke says he and his players are ready to deliver. Here's Ronnie Charters.
A team with the world at their feet. Scotland now 90 minutes away, gearing up for the biggest game for the country in a generation. These players now one win from becoming World Cup history makers.
They're already very, very high in the ranking of what we've done as a country. When I took the job 6.5 years ago, a lot of people were saying, don't touch it, it's a poison chalice, you can't do this. I looked at the group of players and I said, I see some quality there, I see a group of players. I look forward to working with this group of players because I think we can achieve good things. We've managed to do that. Now we've got another very, very good thing that we can achieve together.
The match comes after a bonkers night over. That despite a late Scotland... But remarked
by the challenge ahead, they wouldn't be at this level. So they understand when they cross the white line, they have to go out and play. And if they go out and play as they can play, then I believe that they're good enough to get the result that we need.
In terms of injuries, Billy Gilmore is out tomorrow night. He missed training this morning. But for captain Andy Robertson, set to earn his 90th cap for his country, he's hoping it's a memorable one.
I couldn't even, imagine that when I was younger, or even when this, when I made my debut and this journey kind of began. So that's, a huge honour for me. And yeah, it's nice that it goes along with a pretty big game as well. And I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that my 90th cap will be the most memorable.
So this is it, Scotland's date with destiny. A win over Denmark tomorrow, and these players, led by Steve Clarke, become legends, guiding the Dark Blues back to the World Cup finals for the first time since 1998. Ronnie Charters, STV Sport at Hampden Park.
Well, the Denmark squad have arrived in Scotland. I can tell you a couple of their players, Rasmus Højlund and Christian Eriksen, were separated from the rest of the group as they have a virus, and their head coach admits that their preparations have been affected ahead of tomorrow night's crunch match. Well, the squad trained in Copenhagen before boarding that flight to Glasgow this afternoon. A draw for Denmark tomorrow night is enough for them to book their place to next year's World Cup. They held their pre-match media conference a short time ago. Let's hear from their camp.
Of course, I would sit here and lie to you if I said that I've enjoyed the small bumps we've had regarding the illness. We have great players who starts the game. We have great players on the bench, and it's a top group. They are really behind each other. So for me, it's not a big thing, but of course, at the end of the day, you prefer that you don't have these small bumps.
And for more on the build-up to tomorrow night's crunch match, go to our website. Well, from the national football team to the rugby side, and Gregor Townsend says his players' discipline cost them in a second-half collapse that saw them lose to Argentina. Townsend is facing fresh calls to be sacked as head coach following Scotland's latest defeat. Here's Jamie Borthwick.
Jeers from Murrayfield as Scotland threw away a commanding lead to end up soundly beaten by Argentina. Dejection for the players, but for many fans, patience has run out.
Totally unprecedented. I never expected it. It's a dreadful defeat, a dreadful manner of defeat, but Scottish rugby fans just don't boo the team unless they're very, very angry. And they were very, very angry at that final whistle, and understandably so, to throw away a 21-0 lead. They sleepwalked. Scotland sleepwalked through the second half of that game, and their own worst enemies.
The Scots seemed to be cruising to a victory which would have put them in contention for a place in the top seeds for the upcoming World Cup draw, as Finn Russell led the hunt for a fourth try to kill off the contest. His loose pass turned the test match on its head. A breakaway and yellow card for Blair Kinghorn opened the door. The Pumas would go on to score 5 tries in just 22 minutes. The capitulation in the capital heaps pressure on head coach Gregor Townsend just weeks after he was handed a contract extension through to 2027.
It's getting a bit silly now, people saying, oh, jam tomorrow, we'll do well in the next Six Nations. We've heard that a million times, that things have to change. Really, Townsend's job's on the line in the Six Nations, if he lasts that long.
Scotland play their fourth and final match of the autumn when they host Tonga here on Sunday, but after losing the 2 biggest tests of November, they head towards the Six Nations early next year with more questions than answers about the direction this team is heading in. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
So more pressure on Gregor Townsend after that latest defeat. Well, that is all of the sport for me, live from Hampden. Tomorrow night could be a night like no other. It's win or bust for Scotland. The prize on offer, a ticket to next year's World Cup. It doesn't get any bigger than this. Bye for now.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
Well, from a cold Hampden to the weather now with Philip, but it really does feel like we've got our first touch of winter. So much so, I've been looking at my thermals, Philip.
Well, yes, you'll definitely need them this week at Kellyanne. Like you said, it's our first spell of cold weather this year, and it will last for most of this week. We'll see a bit of everything. Some frost, icy conditions, snow in places, and today the Met Office issued several warnings. So I wanted to go through them all just to make people aware. Our first one comes into effect shortly for ice covering parts of the north and the northeast. That's where we will see the most frequent wintry showers tonight. Then a wider snow warning begins at 3 a.m. covering much of the Highlands, parts of Perth, Angus, Stirling, Aberdeenshire and Argyll and Bute. Within this area, we will see an extended period of snow moving through tomorrow with the highest accumulations on higher ground. Then at 5 a.m, we have another ice warning running through tomorrow morning, as those showers falling onto frosty and sub-zero surfaces will lead to some treacherous roads and pavements during rush hour. I expect more warnings will be issued throughout the week, but in the meantime, let's take a look at what's in store over the next 24 hours.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, throughout the rest of this week, we remain in that northerly airflow. We're dragging in that bitterly cold Arctic air. Tomorrow is our main concern. We've got low pressure crossing the country, and that's what will bring with it the snow and the ice risks that will be pretty hazardous and impactful for some parts of the country. Even once that low pressure clears away, we'll still see some snow showers feeding in from the north. So back to just now as we head into the overnight period. 1 or 2 scattered showers mainly across the very far west. Further inland though, a dry and clear night to come. So we will see the temperatures take a bit of a plunge, and that will lead to a fairly widespread frost forming. Temperatures in some rural spots getting down to -3, -4 degrees Celsius, even for some towns and cities getting well below freezing. So looking ahead to tomorrow, that's when the low pressure system will start to work its way south and eastwards. It brings with it this band of rain, and as that hits the cold air, it will be falling increasingly to snow throughout the course of the afternoon. Mainly on higher ground. To some lower levels, we'll see a mixture of rain and sleet through central, southern and eastern parts, with those temperatures struggling to climb throughout the course of the afternoon. Then looking ahead to Wednesday, another yellow weather warning in force for much of the northern half of the country, more widespread for snow and ice. The further south we are though, the drier and brighter it will be, but still feeling cold, highs of 6. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, the Scottish BAFTAs took place last night in Glasgow with some of the country's biggest film and TV stars on the red carpet. Amongst those honoured were Ewan McGregor and Saoirse Ronan, who was crowned Best Actress. Our entertainment reporter Laura Boyd went along to chat to the famous faces.
What a night it was at the BAFTA Scotland 2025 Awards, with perhaps the most star-studded red carpet at these awards I have seen yet.
It's about us just celebrating everybody's creative achievements. You know, whether you've made a documentary or whether you've made a short film or whether you've been in front of the camera, it just really shines a light on Scotland.
BAFTA Scotland means a lot. Way back in the day when we made Fridge, we won Best Short Film. I can't tell you how important that was for us and how it made us all feel.
So many pieces here that like you grow up watching, then you're up on stage there, it's a bit mad.
It's becoming really, really cool to be Scottish. We've got David Tennant, James McAvoy, Ewan McGregor, with Gary Lamont.
David Tennant's here, he's a newcomer, up-and-coming nan. You might have heard of him. If you don't know him, you'll get to know him.
I'm just delighted. And Scotland does really well in the creative industries. We punch above our weight, so I think it's nice to come and just celebrate that now and again, you know.
And celebrations were certainly in store for Ewan McGregor, who was honoured for his outstanding contribution to film and television, awarded to him by his beloved uncle, Dennis Lawson.
It's hard to think of somebody else who's inspired me more in my life than my uncle Dennis, and so the fact that he gave me the award was really special. It looks like there's some really exciting work happening in Scotland, and I think moving forward I just hope I can be involved in more and more of it, really.
Alan Cumming and his production team won Best Factual Entertainment Programme for All Aboard Scotland's Poshest Train.
What I think is lovely is that the stars of it are really the staff of the show, of the train. And they're so kind and lovely, and, you know, I'm so happy for them tonight.
Shelley McCoy, or Sabre as you might know her from Gladiators, triumphed with the Audience Award and was looking forward to some rather sweet celebrations.
Massively overwhelmed, completely grateful, but I am going to rip through a box of 12 donuts the second I get home.
Genuinely shocked to win, James McArdle won Best Actor for his role in Four Mothers, dedicating his award to someone very special.
To my gran Betha, who had passed away when I read the script, and I just loved her so much, and I recognised so much of her in those Irish mammies, and dedicate to her.
A heartwarming evening celebrating Scottish talent and success. Laura Boyd, STV News.
A star-studded night. And that's all we have time for this evening, but we're back again tomorrow. From all of us here on the team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.